Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Thanks so much for tuning in. My name is Christian Skoggs, and Better Man is here, and none of you saw it. Damn. Now, I don't blame you for this. Robbie Williams is an obscure figure here in the States, and this was a very strange-looking movie, so it was going to be hard to convince people to see this from the get-go. This comes to us from Michael Gracie, who directed The Greatest Showman, and yeah, this is certainly quite the follow-up. Now, I'm not a huge fan of The Greatest Showman. I admit I only saw it once in theaters, but I really didn't like what I saw. The production and showmanship of it all, no pun intended, was impressive, but this movie was extremely shallow and problematic in its portrayal of P.T. Barnum, who, from all accounts, was not a good person at all. Maybe I would enjoy it a little more upon rewatch, but I'm gonna just assume the problems I had with it then still stand today. I think a part of me always knew that Gracie had talent, though. The musical numbers were the best part of The Greatest Showman, so maybe if he was given the right material, he could potentially deliver something really remarkable. We have now seen that, yes, perhaps maybe this is the case. Prior to its release, this was getting a ton of unwarranted hate due to its subject matter and premise, and while I get it, I found this perspective to be frustrating, especially given the seemingly stellar reviews it had been receiving. For those not aware, Robbie Williams is one of the biggest pop stars in the world. If you're wondering why you've never heard of him, it's because he's a much bigger deal in the UK. Yes, it's important to know that there are more countries out there than just the US. I know, it's hard to believe. If you were to play his song Angels at a karaoke bar in London, it would be like playing Piano Man, or Don't Stop Believing, or One Last Breath, where the crowd would go absolutely wild and start singing with you. He's one of the best-selling artists of all time, having sold over 75 million records over the course of his career, and he's also known as one of the highest-selling live acts of all time, with his 2003 concerts at Knebworth having well over 250,000 people in attendance. The point I'm making here is that Robbie Williams is huge, and it's certainly no surprise why a production company would feel inclined to spend $110 million to bring this project to life. It's a huge artistic swing, and isn't that what we continue to advocate for? Don't we want more movies that take risks and try new things? So why aren't we giving this a chance? It's so confusing to me because audiences are constantly bitching and moaning about how there are no good original movies anymore. But like, no, Daniel, the problem is there are plenty of good movies coming out, and you're just not seeing them. This isn't even like an indie film that's playing in select theaters or anything. No, it's literally a big budget mainstream Hollywood film playing right now at your local AMC. Perhaps even in Dolby. Yeah, I saw this movie in Dolby and there were maybe like 7 people in there. Like, what do you people want? I acknowledge that this will maybe gain an audience on streaming later, but I swear to God, if you're not going to see movies like this, don't ever come online again and complain that there are no good movies coming out. There are, and studios are willing to take a swing at them from time to time. What's tough about movies is that no matter what strategies or algorithms you construct to help predict the potential success of a movie, they truly will never take into account interesting artistic visions or rapidly changing cultural interests. Sometimes a film is not going to resonate with audiences right away, and that's okay. This happens often with films that go on to be considered some of the greatest of all time, like The Shawshank Redemption, The Iron Giant, or It's a Wonderful Life. All 3 of those movies bombed hard at the box office, but found an audience years later and went on to receive the acclaim that we recognize today. Now, I'm not here to suggest that by skipping Better Man in theaters you're killing the movie industry, or that Better Man is even going to receive the same amount of acclaim years later. My point here is that it's important to acknowledge that if you want to expose yourself to more movies and diversify your tastes, you're oftentimes going to have to take a chance on projects that seem out of the box, and I think this is a pretty great example of that. Notice how it's only getting hate from people who haven't even seen the movie yet, and those who have are singing its praises. Seems a little odd, huh? Anyways, I guess we should proceed with the real review now, because there is a lot I have to say about this beyond its reception. This tells the story of superstar Robbie Williams as he is depicted here as a CGI chimpanzee. In the film, he explains that he feels as if he's less evolved than other people, and as such has developed a low sense of self-esteem. Nobody really comments on his appearance, and it really plays no effect on the actual story. You kind of even begin to forget after a while that this movie stars a CG chimp, and you just begin to see Robbie, the character. He starts off in a band called Take That, and eventually finds his way into a solo career, where he experiences the height of fame and the lows of drug abuse. It's funny because if you had no idea who Robbie Williams was, and that's going to be the majority of people who go to see this, you would walk out of this movie believing that he's a massive fuck up who can't get his shit together. I really appreciated how vulnerable Robbie presents himself here. I found myself genuinely caring about him as a character. You could tell that his influence was all over this film, yet he used it as a means to express the genuine pain he feels as a performer. I started to think back to the movie Piece by Piece about Pharrell Williams, where he used the control he had over that film to just show how cool he was and how other people thought he was cool. That movie really missed a lot of vulnerability, so it was refreshing to see that be properly expressed here in a meaningful way. I very much understood Robbie as a character, both in terms of the positive quality he possesses and the inner turmoil he faces. Much like how the musical numbers were the highlight of The Greatest Showman, they also are here. The rock DJ sequence as Take That is beginning to explode in popularity might be one of the best musical sequences I've ever seen in my life, and that's not even hyperbole. It's this amazing one-take sequence, not actually, but it's edited to look like that, with all these extras, moving pieces, and intricate choreography, and I'm just getting cold sweats thinking about the level of coordination necessary to carry out a sequence of this magnitude. Like, how many ADs were on set for this? Jesus Christ! I think whenever we demand to see more movies with quote-unquote the sauce, it should be movies that have sequences like this. The Let Me Entertain You sequence towards the end also had this undeniable chaotic energy to it that was honestly unlike anything I've ever seen. It carries itself as a musical number/action scene. I don't have anything poetic to say here, I just thought it was really cool. The film is filled with unique and surreal visuals, and at times it honestly made me feel really uncomfortable, which is a compliment. This movie wants you to feel that way. It does a great job at showcasing an accurate depiction of anxiety, low self-esteem, and drug abuse. The chimp visuals further add to that, and you really start to understand where this movie is coming from conceptually. I think this film also serves as a strong introduction to Robbie's work as a whole. I knew Angels and Candy up until this point only because of TikTok. Candy was actually a viral sound from a few years ago, so most of you probably already knew that song, even if you didn't realize it.
Hey, ho, here she go, either a little too high or a little too low, got no self-esteem and vertigo, 'cause she thinks she's made of candy.
After this movie, I can also now confidently add Rock DJ to my regular rotation, just because the song itself is honestly really fun. I don't think this movie's perfect though. It is a little long at 2 hours and 15 minutes, and for as strong as the visuals are, it sometimes gets a little overstimulating. Like maybe if the movie was shorter, this wouldn't be an issue, but I kind of felt exhausted after all was said and done. I also think there are some really corny sequences here. When the movie first started, I honestly thought we were kind of in trouble. There's a really lame sequence with Robbie as a young child where all the kids are playing football or soccer, whatever you people out there call it, and Robbie is the last one picked, and uh-oh, he's struggling to defend the goal. I don't know, I've seen this scene a million times and it's just so lame to me. I also felt similarly about the ending, which, without giving it away, although is emotionally satisfying and wraps up key loose ends in Robbie's story, it all feels a little too cornball for my liking. It's tough because I get it, these are key moments in Robbie's life and integral to who he would later become. I just wonder if there was a better way of showcasing it. Thankfully, the rest of the movie has the right tone, and it's honestly a really fun watch otherwise. Now, I get it, many of you will not give this a chance, but I hope you eventually do. There is a lot this movie has to offer, even if it's not perfect. I'm glad it's getting a lot of love from those who have seen it, and I hope more people do eventually seek it out. As for my rating, it's a solid 8 out of 10. Anyways, let me know what you think of Better Man if you do see it. Hope you're all doing okay out there, and until next time.